This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. We're pleased to be joined by Marianne Moran. She's an attorney and advocate for states calling for an amendment convention to restore the balance of power between the states and federal government, as well as an activist for a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. She's a member of the Tea Party in Action. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start by asking you, what is an amendment convention?
Well, an amendment convention is called by the states. Well, we've only had one in our history, but it's a tool that the Founding Fathers gave the states to cause Congress to submit to whatever amendment we want. And right now, at this time in our history, it's important to restore the balance of power between the states and federal government. And so the states can call upon Congress to submit to the states for ratification an amendment that would give 2/3 of the states the power to repeal anything Congress does. And actually what it does is it sort of restores the Constitution. Our Constitution has been ignored for a long period of time. The 10th Amendment is essentially useless because of 50 years of bad Supreme Court cases and problems with the 17th Amendment. So to answer your question, it's a tool that the Founding Fathers gave us to cause Congress to do what the states want.
Several members of Congress have advocated a balanced budget requirement over the years. All have failed. Can they be forced to adopt a balanced budget?
Absolutely. Ronald Reagan, after the Carter administration, he had actually asked all of the state speakers and the state Senate presidents to sponsor legislation that would be an Article 5 application to cause Congress to submit to a balanced budget. After that, he had 32 states, 2 away from the needed to get a convention. And what happened? It caused Congress to act. They passed the Balanced Budget Act of 1985. It didn't work, but the moral of the story is this is a tool that we can use. The states have the power to get a balanced budget so we don't turn into Greece in 15 years.
You write about encroachment on states' rights, and critics say Obamacare may be a very good example of that, with insurance purchase mandate and dramatic expansion of Medicaid, which the state has to pick up the tab for. Several states, led by Florida, are in revolt now. What would you like to see happen?
I think we need a restore amendment or repeal amendment to the United States Constitution. I think we need that right. We're shackled right now. We have unfunded mandates. Florida has a balanced budget, Virginia has a balanced budget, but these 2 states, no amount of fiscal discipline on our end is going to save us from the flood of federal debt that's coming our way and unconstitutional mandates like Obamacare. We need the authority back that the founders originally wanted for our country, and we can do that by forcing Congress to give us the repeal amendment so we can repeal bad acts of Congress.
There's the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which you mentioned before, protecting states' rights. On the surface, it would appear that that would be a slam dunk to render key portions of Obama's health care law unconstitutional. Legally, where do you see this headed?
You're right, Ashley, but the problem is we've had horrible Supreme Court decisions for the last 50+ years, judges legislating from the bench, interpreting the Constitution incorrectly, expanding the Commerce Clause way beyond the scope of what the founders originally intended, expanding the Necessary and Proper Clause way beyond the scope of what the founders intended. In addition to problems with the 17th Amendment, the founders originally wanted us, right now we have 2 houses of representatives. We're supposed to have a House and a Senate, and the Senate is supposed to be elected by the state legislators, so the states would have more power, and we wouldn't have these problems with unfunded mandates and a lot of the problems that we do now. So that's the solution. We need to restore the balance of power that the founders originally intended for us to have.
Let's talk about the Tea Party movement, which you're very familiar with.
Yes, I am.
Are these folks to be reckoned with?
Yes, very much so. They are definitely folks to be reckoned with, as can be seen in a lot of the House races and Senate races that's going on right now. We are people that believe in fiscal responsibility, limited government, and free markets. And unfortunately, the Republican establishment wants to still play their chess game, and they don't get it. we the people want to have our neck again, or rather, we the people want to have our feet on the neck of our legislators, and we're only going to vote for the people who are actually standing with us and standing with our core principles and core values. The silent majority, the sleeping giant, has awoken, and it's time for both the Republican and Democrat establishment to realize it.
The Tea Party is credited or blamed, depending on which candidate you were for, in the defeat of powerful Republican candidates, establishment candidates in Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, and Mike Castle in Delaware. Plus, they backed the winner of the Nevada Senate primary, Sharon Angle. Now, some Democrats say the Tea Party actually did them a favor by allowing them to run against what they consider to be weaker candidates. Did the Democrats have a big surprise ahead, do you think?
I think the American people, not left nor right, do not want this unconstitutional spending. They don't want to turn into Greece in 15 years. Our debt to GDP ratio is almost there. I think the people realize that and are turning back to people who agree with those core principles.
And finally, one of those races, Karl Rove says Delaware Republican Senate nominee Christine O'Donnell is unelectable in November in the general election. Is he right about that?
I love Karl, but I think he's wrong. I think she can win, and I think she will win. Again, she is the people. The people agree with her. She agrees with our core principles: fiscal responsibility, limited government, free markets, returning to our Constitution, returning to our American principles that made us so strong. I think she'll win.
Marianne Moran, thanks so much. Pleasure having you
Thank
here.
you,
Good luck,
Ashley.
and come back and see us again.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.